What's up, folks? Mike back here with another video. Today's video is entitled My Advice for New Guitar Players. So I'm going to give you a little bit of a background as to how I started playing guitar. So I started playing guitar when I was 13. This would have been back in 1999. So this is going back a little ways now. So I started in the fall of 1999. And at that time, I was getting really heavily into hard rock and heavy metal music. So I wanted to play guitar and create that kind of music. Makes sense, right? And so I started playing this like shitty acoustic guitar. It was my sister's guitar actually. She had this really shitty fucking acoustic guitar, and so I borrowed that from her and started playing that. And so I'll say this right away. Some people will tell you, and this is terrible, terrible advice. Some people will tell you if you want to start playing guitar, you should learn acoustic first. Absolute bullshit. Never take that advice, and I will tell you that right now. Acoustic guitar and electric guitar are basically like two different instruments. You know, if you want to learn acoustic, learn acoustic. If you want to learn electric, learn electric. If you're into like hard rock and heavy metal and punk and all that kind of stuff, learn electric. If you're into like, let's say like folk or like traditional country music, learn acoustic guitar. I mean, don't make the same mistake I did, right? If I could go back, I would have just initially just started playing electric guitar right away because, like I said, acoustic guitar and electric guitar are basically like two different instruments. Don't take that bullshit advice. This was some horrible advice that was given to me by my sister's then boyfriend, now her husband, but yeah, just absolutely shitty fucking advice there. Anyhow, so I started playing that shitty acoustic guitar that she had and played that for quite a while, in fact. Probably played that guitar for a little bit over a year. And so I started playing, or rather taking lessons. This would have been back in, I think, September of 1999. I took some lessons with somebody local and younger guy as well. I think he was like 17, and he was giving lessons to a variety of different people and out of his basement in his home. And so, yeah, I started going there. My mom would take me like once a week, and it was all right, but it wasn't really that great. I mean, he wasn't really the greatest guitar player either, and he actually had me learn or started on this book here, which is just an absolute shithole of a book. I mean, it's garbage, absolute garbage. Don't learn the guitar on this. It's trash. I'll get into that a little bit later as well. But yeah, so I took some lessons initially, and it didn't necessarily work out that well. He actually quit as a guitar teacher probably about 6 months after I started taking lessons from him, and then I just decided to go off on my own. And yeah, I just started learning on my own through a variety of different books, which I'll show you a little bit later, and I'll sort of get into that a little bit later. And so yeah, I just purchased a bunch of different books. At that time, there was no YouTube or anything like that, so I just mostly learned from books. And I had a subscription to like Guitar World and Guitar One, so I would learn stuff in there. I would learn like some of the songs, some of the riffs and whatnot that were in those magazines. And so that's basically how I learned guitar initially. And then in my late teens, early 20s, I started taking some lessons and took lessons from a variety of different teachers. And so yeah, then I just stopped doing that and just started learning more on my own. And then I started writing my own music in my early 20s, and then that's where I'm at now basically. I've been writing and recording music for quite a number of years, probably about 18 years now. So yeah, that's my history in a my brief little history there. Obviously, I could go into a lot more detail there, but anyhow, that's my little history of how I learned guitar. And okay, so basically, if you're just wanting to get into guitar, you're trying to figure out, okay, what do I need? Obviously, you're going to need a guitar, right? Like I said, do you want to learn acoustic? Do you want to learn electric? Figure it out, okay? Most of you, I'm sure, want to learn electric. You're into like hard rock, heavy metal, and punk stuff. And so yeah, go out and get an electric guitar. Don't spend a whole lot though. Uh, don't don't spend over 1,000, that's for sure. In fact, don't even spend over 500. I would keep it somewhere within the $300 to $400 range, 500 maybe. There's lots of different models available at guitar stores. You can buy plenty of guitars used as well, but there are lots of models available from lots of the good brands that are out there, like Epiphone and Fender. Ibanez and other manufacturers as well that produce excellent guitars at a cheaper price, at an affordable price. Good guitars for beginners, that are within that $300 to $500 range, I would say. Get something like that, just something basic. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. You don't want to spend a whole lot of money. So get that. Get yourself a little amplifier of some sort. Get yourself something like this. This is a 20-watt amplifier right here. This is what I use to make my videos with my guitar, my excellent guitar videos that you'll see. Yeah, I bought this off of Amazon. It's just some cheap amp. I think I spent like $80 on this. So get yourself something like that. 10, 20 watts. I wouldn't really get anything much bigger than that. I would say stay around the 10 to 20 watt range. Simple, just something simple with like one speaker. You can get something a little bit bigger, maybe like a 40 or 50 watt, maybe, but I wouldn't go any bigger than that. You want something with overdrive. That's essential. Overdrive. Some of these amps, most of them have overdrive. A lot of them do. Most of them do. Some of them have different effects like reverb and delay and all that kind of stuff. A lot of the basic models like this one here, the one I just showed you, it doesn't have much. It has some overdrive and that's about it. It has like a 3-band EQ. Nothing too fancy there. A few inputs. But that's basically all you need, and it's not going to cost you that much. Maybe, like I said, I spent $80 in this one, so you could spend about that much. Keep it around that $100 to maybe $200 range. You can get some for cheaper, like you can buy some that are even used for between $50 and $100. Like I said, I bought this one for $80, so you could purchase something around that as well. And yeah, just something basic that has overdrive and ideally some reverb as well. But you don't really need much to start going, especially early on. You don't really need much. And but after that, I would invest in some kind of pedal of some sort. You can get individual pedals, but you can get something like this, which is like a modeling unit. I've had a variety of these throughout the years. This is my most recent one. I definitely need to upgrade again, and I probably will get something this year, most likely. This is a Digitech. They don't even make Digitech anymore. That company went out of business, but I've had a bunch of Digitechs throughout the years. So basically, this has everything that you need on it. It has a variety of cabinet and app models and distortions and different reverbs and a variety of different effects like delay and chorus and flanger and phaser and vibrato and all that kind of stuff. It has a built-in pedal here. It has a tuner on it. It's pretty much all you need, especially starting off or even for more advanced guitar players. I have another one here. This is for my bass guitar. This is what I use for bass. So yeah, I mean, these things are great. You can get some pretty advanced models, but you can get some that are pretty cheap as well. You can get some that are within the $100 to $200 range. Some of the more basic models from some of the different brands like Zoom and some of the cheaper brands as well. So you don't really need to spend a whole lot on that. Just get yourself a basic pedal like that has some different effects and different distortions and amp and cabinet models. Like I said, you can spend $100 to $200. You can get yourself something pretty decent, but obviously you can spend a lot more than that. You can spend upwards of $1,000 or more on those things. Or you can go with the individual pedals. I don't have any individual pedals on me right now, but that's an option as well. But that's just my advice, right? Get yourself something like this that has everything on it. It's I think it's a great option. That's what I started off doing as a younger guitar player, and it served me well throughout the years. And then you're going to need some kind of 1/4-inch cable to connect everything. Obviously, this right here is just an example. And yeah, these are, you can get some cheaper ones for like, $10 to $20. But some of the more expensive ones are going to cost you maybe 50 or 60. The average one will cost you maybe around 30 or 40. And but yeah, you're going to have to invest in a couple of these in order to play, in order to connect your amplifier into your pedals. So you need at least a couple of those, 2 or 3 of them. Strings, you obviously need those. I mean, you're going to get a guitar with strings on it, obviously, but over time you're going to want to change those strings. Maybe the strings will break, but eventually they do get pretty old and worn out, so you're going to want to learn how to change strings. There's plenty of tutorial videos out there. You just have to figure it out. It takes a little bit of practice. It's a bit of a pain in the ass initially. Honestly, for me, it's still a little bit of a challenge. It can be annoying, especially with my poor eyesight. It's kind of hard to see shit sometimes. But yeah, you definitely need to invest in some strings. There's a variety of different brands of strings. I wouldn't worry too much about the brand. I mean, I would say most of them are, relatively the same. Maybe some slight differences, but for the most part, I think they're comparable. But yeah, get some strings. There's some different sizes of strings, so just get like a basic regular set, light gauge, regular light, something like that, medium. And over time, you'll figure out what your preference is. Picks, you'll need picks. There's plenty of picks out there, lots and lots of picks. I got a shitload of picks right here in all different shapes and sizes, all kinds of stuff that I've collected throughout the years. Experiment with picks. You're going to figure it out. And over time, you'll have your likings for picks will change over time. I mean, when I was younger, I liked a thick pick, like a 2 millimeter pick, which would be like, let's see if I can find one. Yeah, there's one right here. This is a 2 millimeter pick right there. I don't know if you can see it too well, but yeah, that's a pretty big pick. And now I use a .46, which is this one right here. This is a very thin pick. That's what I use. Some people may be surprised by that. That's what I play metal with, a .46. And that's just, over time I've experimented, and that's what I like. That's what works for me. That's what works for my particular style of music and what I write. So that's what I stick with. So it's just a matter of experimenting, and over weeks and months and even years, you'll eventually figure it out. Your preferences will kind of change over time, but you'll figure it out. And so yeah, that's pretty much it starting out. That's basically what you need. You don't need to spend a whole lot of money, like I said. Just get yourself a basic, cheaper guitar. Spend maybe between 300 and 500, maybe even less. Maybe you can find something used for a couple of hundred. You don't want to get anything too cheap, though. Don't go to like Toys R Us or one of these bullshit stores. Get a reputable brand, like I said, Epiphone, uh, Fender, Ibanez, any of those really. There's a variety of other brands you can choose from, but those are some of the better ones. And they make some cheaper models that are still pretty good. They make some obviously pretty expensive models as well, but yeah, stick with one of those I would recommend. Amp, I mean, like I said, don't spend a whole lot, $100, $200 maybe. A couple cables, some strings, and yeah, that's what pretty much all you need. And of course, a pedal of some sort or a couple of pedals. And those are pretty simple to set up as well, so I don't think you'll struggle too much with that. It's pretty straightforward. Don't worry too much about that kind of stuff. Also, get yourself a strap as well. I mean, you don't necessarily need one initially, but over time you're going to want to start standing up and playing, especially if you want to play eventually later on. You want to start practicing with some people maybe. A strap is always a good option, and again, you don't need to spend much there, $20, $30 maybe. And yeah, that's pretty much all you need starting off. And I mean, there's so much you can get, of course, later on, but just stick with that for now. So you don't really need to spend a whole lot. Maybe all in all, maybe between $500 and $700, maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit less. But don't spend too much, especially initially, just starting off. You don't need to spend a whole lot of money. Just get some basic stuff. That's all you really need. Some people may try to tell you, oh, you need like this fancy guitar, a Les Paul, which is going to cost you maybe like 3 grand. Absolutely not. That's something you can get later on. Once you've been playing guitar for a number of years, and same with an amp. You don't need anything big. A lot of people will try to tell you differently, and but don't listen to that bullshit. I'm telling you right now, you just stick with something simple. Don't spend a whole lot of money. You're just figuring out guitar. You're playing by yourself at home in your room, and so you don't need much initially starting off with, especially within the first couple of years of playing. Okay, so that's pretty much it as far as the gear is concerned, as to what you need starting off playing guitar. And so as far as learning guitar, okay, so there are some different methods, obviously. Taking lessons, that's something you could do. Okay, so this is my experience with lessons, and I'll tell you right now, I've taken lessons with probably at least, I would say 7, possibly maybe even around eight or so people throughout the years, especially in my late teens, early 20s. some of them will come and go, right? People will quit, and then I will get somebody else. Or, sometimes things just don't really work out, which oftentimes happens. And that's just how it is with lessons. It's like anything else. It's a bit of a challenge to find somebody that works for you, that's on the same page as you with you, and somebody that kind of jives with you. It's like finding a therapist, for example. It can take a while to find a therapist, or anything else for that matter. It's a challenge, right? I mean, it can be a little bit tough. And honestly, a lot of these guitar teachers out there, they're just not really that into it. And this has been my experience. For a lot of them, it's just a job. They're just getting paid, and they're not necessarily getting paid a whole lot of money either in most instances. For a lot of them, it's just a job. It's a way to pay the bills. They're passionate about guitar, but as far as teaching, they're not necessarily that into it. That's been kind of my experience. And yeah, for some of them especially, they just kind of rush you out of there and don't necessarily cater to your needs all that well. And that can give you all kinds of examples as to what I experienced. For example, I had this one guy, this would have been back in my early 20s. I was probably around 20 at the time, 21. And yeah, just a very self-absorbed kind of guy. I would go in there and he would just ramble on the entire time, just talk about all kinds of bullshit, and didn't really even take any interest in what I was interested in or what I was wanting to learn. He was just a very self-absorbed, narcissistic kind of guy. Great guitar player, of course, but his teaching skills and his ability to connect with others was extremely limited. I mean, he was strange to say the least, but I don't know. He was just, like I said, a great guitar player, but yeah, just you could tell he just wasn't into it. He was always looking at the clock, and he was just wanting me to get the fuck out of there as soon as possible. And that's just kind of how it is with lessons. That's been my experience. And there's other people as well I could provide examples of. A lot of them just aren't really into it. A lot of them will quit. They find another job. So, but if you can find somebody that's that you take a liking to and that is genuinely concerned, and they are out there, of course. They are out there, and but it can be a little bit of a challenge to find them, possibly, unless you just happen to know somebody. Let's say you have a relative that happens to know somebody that's a quality teacher, and they can hook you up with them. Then that's great. But like my experience has not been the greatest. But I don't want to discourage you necessarily from taking lessons, but I just know that it can be a little bit of a challenge. And it's also a little bit pricey as well. You're looking probably at about $20 or so a lesson, which I mean, it's not too bad, I suppose. Once a week, $20. But yeah, I mean, it's not within everybody's budget, but it's not too bad, I suppose. And or you can just not do that and just learn yourself. And there's so much material out there. I mean, me growing up, I learned through books. This was obviously the first book that I ever got. Uh, just a pretty shitty book, I would say. And it's all notes as well. And that's another thing. Don't learn notes. Don't worry about reading music. Some people will try to tell you, and I'll tell you this right now. Some people will try to tell you, yeah, you should learn how to read music, or why haven't you learned how to read music, or when are you going to learn how to read music, and that kind of fucking bullshit. Don't listen to that nonsense. Unless you're wanting to be in like a symphony, or you have aspirations of playing like classical music, then yes, of course you need to know how to write, or rather read music, and write music obviously as well. But yeah, it's unnecessary. All you need to do is learn how to read guitar tab. There's something called guitar tab. It's very straightforward. It's very simple. You'll learn it pretty easily. I would hope so. It's not tough at all. But yeah, just learn how to read guitar tabs, and that's pretty much all you ever really need to learn how to read. Don't worry about reading music. I mean, like unless you're wanting to be in some bullshit symphony or something like that, or have aspirations of playing classical music. Don't worry about that, and don't listen to anybody that tells you that you need to learn how to read music. It's fucking nonsense. Okay, so early on, and this would have been back in like the early 2000s, so of course before YouTube and all that, the internet was still in its infancy. So I was just purchasing books like this from the music store. I was ordering books like this as well from them. Rock chords. So I mean, this is where I learned how to play like power chords and whatnot. Decent book, nothing amazing necessarily, but it was okay. and some other stuff on here like right hand techniques. This was a good one. Arpeggios, music theory. It's important to learn some music theory. Okay, and this is something I'll get into right away. Some music theory is necessary, But when I was learning guitar, I thought, okay, I got to learn all this theory. That's the understanding that I was under, right? Like I said, I was, just a self-taught guitar player for the most part. So I thought, okay, I got to learn how to learn theory and learn all this stuff. And it was just overwhelming trying to learn all this stuff. And the truth is, you don't really need to learn a whole lot of that stuff. Learn some of the basics. Like you're gonna need to learn how to read or understand like rhythm, and you're gonna need to understand like some basic scales like the pentatonic, minor pentatonic, the minor scale, the major scale. Learn some basic open chords, like G and C and A and E and all that kind of stuff. E minor, A minor, just a lot of the basic open position chords. Start learning some bar chords. Those are always essential too, but power chords, especially if you're into like hard rock, heavy metal, and punk, power chords. You're really gonna want to learn how to learn that stuff and learn it well. Learn some variations of power chords. Learn some different techniques like bends and vibrato and hammer-ons, pull-offs, legato, all that kind of stuff. I mean, as far as the more advanced techniques, don't worry about that kind of stuff when it comes to like two-hand tapping or sweep picking or any of that kind of bullshit. Don't worry about that. That's stuff you can learn later on after you've been playing for a number of years, and you may never want to learn how to play that kind of stuff. Honestly, I don't. I couldn't be bothered, honestly, with learning that kind of stuff. Maybe one day I will. I've learned a little bit of it, but to me, it's just nerd stuff for the most part. Some people are really into it, and that's fine, but I just never really found it that appealing. But anyhow, that's just sort of my take on that. But yeah, books was something that I learned on, and that's something you can learn on as well. But there's just so much good quality content on the internet now, especially with YouTube and other platforms. There's just so much good quality content online and so many different programs that you can purchase online and that you can use for free, different apps that are available now. So I would just strongly suggest using that. Get yourself some different apps. Look at some of the different programs that are online, make some investments into that. And I would strongly recommend learning lots of songs and learn songs that you genuinely enjoy. Don't worry about bullshit that you're not into. Like my guitar teacher, my original guitar teacher that I had when I was 13, he was trying to have me learn just a bunch of fucking lame ass bullshit like Mary Had a Little Lamb and Old MacDonald and just fucking lame ass fucking shit like that. Don't bother with that kind of stuff. Learn the kind of stuff that you're into. If you're into heavy metal stuff, if you're into bands like, I don't know, Metallica, Megadeth, Pantera, Lamb of God or some kind of stuff like that. Just using that as an example. Then learn some of that stuff, and I understand that some of that stuff is pretty challenging, but learn some of the more basic riffs. I mean, Megadeth have some more basic riffs, and obviously a lot of their stuff is pretty technical, but learn some of their more simple stuff. Learn some of Metallica's more simple stuff. I remember one of the first riffs I ever learned was Enter Sandman. Fade to Black, I remember learning that, right? Nothing Else Matters, I remember learning a little bit of that as well, right? These are some of the more basic stuff I could learn. And if you can't play it that well, who cares, right? Even if it's kind of sloppy, just play it as best as you can, and eventually over time you're going to get better and better, right? But yeah, just play stuff that you genuinely enjoy. Don't worry about playing a bunch of fucking stupid bullshit, and don't listen to anybody that tells you otherwise. If you're into punk, learn how to play punk, right? Learn punk songs, learn lots of them. Just you maybe don't necessarily need to learn the whole songs, but learn riffs, right? Learn parts of the songs. Learn maybe like the chorus riff or the verse riff or what have you, right? Just learn lots of stuff and just become, just become familiar with that kind of stuff as much as you possibly can, and so that way you could develop an understanding as to how they're writing music and what's going on with that particular kind of music. So that way you can eventually write that kind of music as well, right? The more you learn from these different bands that you're into, the more it'll help you develop your own songwriting skills and those techniques that are necessary for writing the kind of music that you want to write. So yeah, just write or just learn rather the kind of music that you're into. It's a no-brainer, but other people will say otherwise, right? Other people will try to get you, even teachers, right? They'll get you to learn a bunch of stupid bullshit that you're not even into, some just garbage, just nonsense. I had a teacher, this would have been in my early 20s. This would have been my last teacher. He was a real fucking goofball, this guy. He was all right though for a little while, I suppose, but yeah, he was just a fucking little goofball. But he was trying to have me learn some fucking gay ass bullshit, and I just wasn't into it. And I told him to, like, man, I can't do this. I can't learn this song. Like, get me something better here. Like, this is ridiculous. And he was emphasizing that I should learn this particular song that he wanted me to learn. It was something really fucking lame. And I said no, I wasn't going to. But yeah, just learn the stuff that you're into. Learn it the best you can. Don't worry about perfection initially, because eventually over time you'll get better and better. And so that's my big recommendation. Just learn the stuff that you're into. There's lots of good apps too. Like there's one called Ultimate Guitar. There's another one called Songster. These are great, great apps, and I've gotten really into these apps as well over the past year or so. Ultimate Guitar I use quite a bit. I subscribe to that one. It costs me about, I don't know, $30 or $40 a year, so it's relatively cheap. Songster, I don't know how much Songster costs, but it's probably about the same. So just experiment with both of those apps. Download both of them. You can use them for free. They have like some basic free features that you can use, but once you get more into them, you may want to purchase the app. Like you may want to subscribe to it because you'll get all the different features, and that'll really help you quite a bit. But you can always just use the free features as well. That's always an option. But yeah, check those apps out. So that's Ultimate Guitar and Songster. So those are great apps for learning songs. Really, really good. Much better than learning from tab books, which is what I initially used when I was learning guitar. So I would use stuff like this. And Metallica, the Black Album, great album, obviously. Black Sabbath, I learned a bunch of Black Sabbath songs, and but yeah, this is the kind of stuff I would learn on back when I was younger. This was before Ultimate Guitar and Songster and all that kind of stuff. This is what we used initially to learn songs, was tab books. Oh, this one's falling apart here. Pretty old book, actually. This is Alice in Chains, Dirt. Just stuff that I was really into. Pantera, Opeth. I would just purchase a lot of these tab books. I got quite a few more as well, but that's how I learned riffs and songs when I was younger, back in my early 20s. But obviously I don't think that stuff's really that necessary anymore at all. I would just strongly recommend using Ultimate Guitar, Songster. There's probably different apps as well that are available that you can check out as well. Yeah, these apps are really good, much better than the tab books. The tab books are kind of a pain in the ass to deal with, honestly. And so yeah, learn lots of songs, and as far as devoting an amount of time each day, don't overwhelm yourself either. Starting off, I would spend like half an hour maybe each day if you can, maybe even less. If you're gonna put at least 15 or 20 minutes in each day, I know it's not much, but try and do the best you can. Half an hour a day. If you can do an hour, that's great as well. Don't overwhelm yourself, because it's going to be frustrating initially, especially for that first year or so. It can be pretty challenging, especially those first few 2, 3, 4 months or so, right? Because you're going to suck pretty badly, especially early on. But just stick with it. Be diligent. Be patient. You got to be really, really patient with this, like anything else. But it's going to take some time, but you're going to get better and better gradually and gradually. So just stick with it. Don't get discouraged. It's going to take time. It's going to take a year or two before you're fairly good, or longer. But yeah, at least a year or so before you're, reasonably well. And just stick with it. Learn lots of songs. Learn some theory, like I said. Learn how to read rhythm. Become familiar with some skills, some chords, power chords, obviously. Learn some different techniques. And practice whenever you can, as much as you can. We all have busy lives. Obviously, we work, we have jobs and friendships and relationships and all that kind of stuff. But do the best you can with what you got. And another thing I should mention is this is a drum machine. I've had so many of these throughout the years. I still use them regularly, but they're great for practicing with. Some people will tell you, and this is some bullshit advice as well, some people will tell you, play with a metronome. Well, I mean, that's decent advice, I suppose, but I would strongly recommend using a drum machine and just programming some patterns into here, There's always some built-in patterns in here, and just practice along with those patterns, loop them over and over. That's how I learned to get good at guitar, how to develop speed and accuracy. And I would just practice, you know, to a programmed beat, and it would just loop over and over, and it was exciting, right? I would just play to some different patterns, and a hell of a lot more exciting than listening to some fucking gay ass fucking metronome, right? Some click, click, click. It just drives you mad after a while, doesn't it? Much better to play with a drum machine. I highly recommend the drum machine. I really do. And so yeah, that's another thing I highly recommend, getting a drum machine. They can cost you about 200. You can get some models that are more expensive. I mean, this one right here is probably about 250, 300. Uh, I have a couple of these. I also have the Alesis SR18. This is the SR16, so this is an older model. So you can get some more advanced models. This is a more basic type of model, but it's a good brand. You can get some cheaper ones as well. I've been through quite a few drum machines throughout the years. I've probably had about 8 or 9 drum machines throughout the years. Some of the ones I had earlier on just didn't last. They were just fucking cheap. But yeah, that's basically it. Just practice as much as you can, whenever you can, and just be diligent and experiment. Don't get discouraged or frustrated. Just work at it slowly. Learn songs slowly. Don't worry about getting them perfect. Just play them and just have fun. Have fun with it, and don't worry so much about the theory. Learn some of the basics of theory. Don't get overwhelmed with stuff like this. I mean, look at this book right here. It has every scale and every mode that is out there, right? I mean, stuff like this as well. Chord theory. I mean, after a while, you're going to want to maybe get into some of the stuff like I have, but earlier on, I mean, it's just not necessary at all. And another thing that too that's really good, and I highly recommend this, is ear training. I have this program here. I purchased this many years ago. I'm still going through it. It's a pretty extensive course, but ear training, just developing a good ear for music, so that way you can recognize different pitches and intervals and whatnot. And it's just going to develop you into a better musician, somebody that's just able to recognize things better and have a better understanding as how things are put together. And so yeah, that's obviously very good too. Just doing some ear training. I'm sure there's plenty of stuff that's available online. Like I had purchased that CD set many years ago. I don't know if that's even still available, but there's lots of stuff that's online. And yeah, so just experiment with that as well. Ear training, really good stuff to learn. And I think that's pretty much all I have to say about this. I mean, just keep at it. Like I said, it can be frustrating, and it's still frustrating for me all these years, but eventually you're going to get good at it. As long as you stick with it, you're going to get good at it. I mean, there's no other option. You're going to get good at it. As long as you're practicing and you're diligent and you're putting in the hard work, you're going to get good, and it's going to be great after a while. You're going to really enjoy playing guitar as the years go by, something you're going to be really passionate about and look forward to playing. And so yeah, that's my advice for new guitar players. All right, folks, thank you very much for listening to this video, watching it, and all that. Thank you so much, and have yourselves a great fucking day. Cheers.